In this video, I'm going to walk you through an example of what the personal endorsement script for the business side of things is. And I've got my business partner, Jason Wells, here with me to share some insight and also do some role playing with me. So Jason, before we jump into the role playing, I mean, I know you've used this script probably 1,000+ times or used this endorsement numerous times. People have heard me in the training videos. You know what I covered there. You got any insight or advice you want to share with people before we move on?
Well, I mean, if you've already watched the personal endorsement on the customer, and for the people out there, I mean, I'm practicing it. I said it in there, and I'll say the same thing here. You know, scripts are needed because you need to know what to say, and you need to know where you're going in the communication process. That said, people hate scripts. Why do they hate them? Because they don't want to sound like a robot. Well, the only way to not sound like a robot is to make it a part of you. How do you make it a part of you? You have to practice it. So that's what, and I know you got a lot of other advice that you have for people as you train this stuff, but that's the one that sticks out the most, because a lot of this stuff works out on its own if you know it and you make it a part of you. And the difference is, when I talk, I just talk like matter of fact, like I would talk about my interests, volleyball, yoga, whatever it is I do, working out. I talk the same way.
So when you talk about your business, you don't change your posture or start using a lot of like, oh, this is awesome, and changing your tempo.
No, it's funny. That's funny. It's, you asked that on purpose just to make me say.
Well, I want to emphasize this point.
Yeah, this crap pisses me off. I'll just say it. Like, I can't stand that stuff. That's the cheesy crap that makes the network marketing industry like look cheesy or salesy to people, and it doesn't have to be that way. And you know, it's kind of like, you know, I used to run a law firm, and we used to always laugh at the lawyers in some of their television ads or some of their phone book ads. I mean, it's not just in network marketing. Like, you wouldn't believe some of these lawyers how cheesy their advertising was or how stupid they looked. And it was like, I never would hire this person. So our whole thing in law was like, we wanted our image to be professional, and we wanted everything to be solid. I brought that to network marketing. This was my first network marketing experience, and here I am 10 years later, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing at the beginning, but I definitely emphasize professionalism and the way I handle people, and I carry myself that way, especially when I'm doing my personal endorsement on business. So yeah, definitely not using fluff words and not changing myself at all. I'm me.
So here's the rule of thumb for you to follow on what Jason said. Whatever way you would use to describe a good movie you saw last weekend, or a restaurant you went to, or a hobby or a sport you play, or what college degree you have, or about your job, do the same thing with your business, do the same thing with your product or service. And that way, that's what I did, and that's what I teach my downline as they come in. Because I remember when I came in, I would, I think naturally part of it was just nerves and excitement, where I would start talking about my business or the lead into it using the endorsement style, and all of a sudden, you know, my palms would get sweaty. I would start using some fluff words like awesome, and my voice inflection would go out of control. It'd be like a roller coaster as I tried to describe things. And you know, I could see in people's faces, my friends would kind of give me that look like, what the heck? Or, you know, kind of like that kind of roll their eyes and like, dude, what's, you know, did you have too much caffeine today or something? You know, what's your issue? And so again, you know, being nervous a little bit and getting your palms sweaty, that's part of the process. You're gonna have to push your comfort zone, or if you have a mental stop with you, that's where doing some personal or self-development can pay off big time. But bottom line is, you have to get out there and do it, and just kind of mentally record and observe what you're saying, and compare it to how you would describe other things that you do in life, and how you describe other things before you even got into your network marketing business.
Well, I'll make one last comment. Like, don't try to be somebody that you're not. And, you know, we talked about the personality types and some of the other communication training. And I talked about the different colors, you know, red, blue, green, and yellow. And even though I'm real professional, if you've watched any videos, when I get amped up, I get very like animated. People say I'm motivating. That's one of the things about Reds, is we tend to motivate other people. We have this infectious way about us. Like, if that's not you, that's okay. You don't need to be that person. I got a lot of people in my organization that are not like me, that are very successful. Just be yourself. Be your personality type, because especially the people that you know or run across, they're going to know right away that, like, when you go into this different mode where you're not yourself, they're going to be like, okay, what's going on here? And they're going to already be suspicious. Like, what's this person doing right now? Just be yourself.
My favorite way to think about it is be authentic.
Yes.
Same thing. Because we do a lot of teaching of online marketing as well. And one of the trends that is big in not only online marketing but business, I'm sure you've probably seen maybe one or two hypey websites out there, and I'm being very sarcastic.
Yeah, right.
But when you're actually authentic and just real and your real personality come out, people gravitate towards that. Especially, people you don't know, people outside of your current network or your current Rolodex, people gravitate towards it. They respect it. They like it. And that goes no matter who you're talking with or what form of advertising or communication you're doing, whether you're doing phone, text, face-to-face, or you're marketing on Google with a $5,000 a month budget.
Right.
So we're going to do a little bit of role play here. Jason will be just a person, a potential or a contact, and I'm going to be an associate. Now, I've been doing network marketing for close to a decade now. I'm going to put myself back in the shoes I was in when I was first starting the business and getting things going. So I might stumble on my script once or twice because what I say now is slightly different from what I said back then, just because I've got more knowledge base and I've got more of a proven track record now. But I'm going back to very similar to what I said years and years ago. And I want you to understand that even if you stumble a little bit like I do, or do a few uhs, or even backpedal over a word or two, it's not going to matter. Just be authentic, be real, and just do your best at connecting with a person and starting to build the bridge. And I promise you, it'll take you places.
Yeah. So how do you want to, where are we at? At maybe yoga studio again, like we did in the product
we could
one?
do yoga studio, and just basically we're not friends. We don't know each other. That's what I want you to focus in on here. So I can just say we're at the yoga studio again, and
You started a conversation up with me, and then I ask you, as you all know, this always happens. And one of the first questions when you meet somebody, they ask, so what do you do? That's always something that somebody asks. So I ask you, what do you do?
I actually started a business recently on the side. I'm just finishing up my last year of college, studying finance, and I kind of got disillusioned with the job market after I graduated. I've seen some friends graduate, this year or last year ahead of me, and I really don't want to move back home with my parents. And I don't know, things just don't seem like they're adding up anymore as far as getting a good degree, getting a good job, good long-term job stability and good income. I don't mind working hard, but I want something there in my future. So I'm kind of exploring different things. But what's your take on the way the economy is, and the whole are college degrees even worth the time and money anymore? That's what I'm debating right now.
Well, I'm in law right now, so the economy, it's affected us a little bit, but it really hasn't affected us a whole lot. But yeah, I could see why people getting out of college right now would feel that way. Honestly, I have business degrees in my undergrad, and I use it in running our law firm, but I don't know how much I learned or whether it would have prepared me to go out and do a job or get a job. I had a good situation waiting for me, so I didn't really have to look for a job. I was already working in it when I was in law school. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, that's for sure. That's just kind of a screwed up thing to say, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, I've just, you can't help but see an article almost every day in the newspaper or Google News every day. But you said you kind of stepped into. Are you practicing law, or are you more on the business side where you're running and managing things? It sounds like you're more running things.
Well, no, I'm doing both, but
okay.
when you're running a law firm, you kind of wear two hats. You're lawyer and then you're business manager. Some law firms have business managers. Because I like the business side of things, it's kind of funny. I actually don't like law that much. I kind of hate it. Actually, I hated my law school experience.
Really?
Yeah. So I tend to gravitate towards running the business side, but there are some law things that I have to do. I mean, you still have to do trials and you still have to go to depositions and, meet new clients, but I try to stay out of that as much as I can. I'd probably burn out and hate my life if I had to do more law. It's not really what I want to do, but
Why do you said you hated the experience? What? I mean, I've heard a lot of good stories and a lot of bad stories about law school.
I'd like to hear what those good stories are because I don't know very many good stories from law school.
Well, usually people bragging about how much money they're making.
Oh, well, that's and half the time they're full of it. Most lawyers don't make a lot of money. That's unless you own your own business like I do. It's just a humiliating experience. Like the teachers practice this style of teaching called the Socratic method, if you haven't heard of it. And it's just, they like to call you out and put you on the spot in front of the class. And it's just, there's just nothing positive about it. It's just their excuse is it's preparing you for court and preparing you for the rigors of law. And it's just, I don't know. I just wasn't fond of it. And, my dad, who started the law firm years ago, he loved the law. And I could see why, like he liked law school. I mean, he didn't like all the work and it was tough. He went to night school and I was a kid and he was working full time. And that part was hard,
yeah.
But he loved the law. I didn't love the law. It was a means to an end. I was the guy who was barely close to academic probation. And when I would get close, I would hurry up and get an A in a class to get right above it. It was just a game I was playing to get through it. So yeah, I didn't like it, and I'm not fond of it now just because, I don't know, the law is such, it's gotten to be, it's not the way it used to be. My dad says you used to do business with your word and handshake. I don't think it's just law. I just think it's everything in general these days. But you really see it a lot in law. It's just, everyone's so adversarial and it's always a battle with everything. And like, I feel like I have to battle because what the people on the other side are wanting to battle over is so ridiculous. It's like, why are you even fighting me on this? It's like clear that the person's entitled to this. There's a lot of other issues we can fight over this, so it seems like everything's a battle, even like little things it shouldn't be. So it's kind of tiring. Sometimes it's kind of tiring. It's frankly why I come to yoga.
Is that what you were saying? Why you didn't want to burn out, or you're trying not to burn out down the road?
Oh, that's totally, yeah. Because like the business side is actually what I enjoy. I actually enjoy running businesses, and since I'm running a business right now, that's what keeps me sane. Honestly, if I could do it over again, I'd do something else. I'd do a business that isn't in law. I wouldn't wish this. I mean, you make good money, don't get me wrong, but money isn't everything. It just isn't. And so, it's just.
Well, if you could do it all over again, I mean, what do you like about running the business? What would you change? Like, it sounds like you got a kind of a mental picture.
I don't even know. I don't even know what kind of business. Like, I'm sure I could figure something out.
Well, let me ask you this because I've been, kind of reading a lot of books this last year and learning from as many people as I can. I've heard a lot of people bitch, moan, and complain about employees. And I don't know how big your law firm is, but what's it like having an employee?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's these people, when they're not at work, they're great friends. A lot of them, to me. But it's like daycare sometimes when you're working.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because people just, and I get it. If it's not your business, they don't care about it like you do. It's just, and that's the problem is if they don't have ownership in something, so it's a pain in the ass sometimes, to be honest, like dealing with them. Wow. It's just not their business. It's not that I don't have good people. It's not that they're lazy. I don't know. They just do bonehead things sometimes because, people have their lives and they come into work and they got their mind in the fight they had with their spouse or their girlfriend or something else. And they bring it to work and, it's just life. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just, so yeah, it's kind of annoying.
So that would probably be one of the things you would minimize or strike off of
Yeah,
if you agree to
well,
it?
yeah, but if I like to run businesses, I don't think there's any type of business where you could not have employees. I mean, it's pretty. If you want to run a business and you want to have like that kind of being able to leverage yourself, like if I want to take more cases, I have to hire more lawyers and more paralegals and more. Like I can't. You have to deal with people in order to grow your business. Unfortunately.
Right. Let me run an idea by it because, like I said, I've been doing, learning a lot of stuff, researching a lot of things, and kind of dabbling in some different things. Let me shoot you over a website to look at. It's based off a couple different concepts, and it might give you a few ideas on how not have to deal with employees or look at some different options down the road.
What is it like? What is it? What is the website?
Actually, I can give it to you here. Kind of just text it to you or email it to you. That way,
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Good.
class is beginning soon, so
Great. Well, let's get it after class from you.
How about after class? You
Yeah,
can get it to
perfect.
me, and I'll check it out. Like, is it like your website, or is it something else?
It's actually someone who's kind of mentoring me and coaching me.
Oh,
So it's one of their
Okay.
websites, and he's been doing it for for I don't know, at least 5 or 6 years now. And I mean, he knows what he's talking about.
so it's like a business or something, or
Not specifically on the website. It's more just some concepts. It's something that
Okay.
I looked at to kind of lead him. Like I said, I mentioned I started a business on the side to start exploring and learning things, and it gave me some great concepts and education. And as I was searching out there for different things by getting a college degree and getting a job, this is one of the things I came across.
oh,
So it's
okay,
good food for
sure.
thought.
Hey, I'll look at anything that's like gives me some ideas.
Cool. So that right there, I don't know, that's probably about an 8-minute or 10-minute conversation. And did I mention my business?
No.
You know?
And I was rough on you. I was asking
Yes,
the
you
kind of
were.
questions. I was asking the kind of questions that people put you on the spot with, and you don't want to deflect what they're saying, but you need to have an intelligent, quick, confident response, or people are going to start digging on you and asking you stuff that you just don't want to talk about right now because they haven't been developed. In other words,
Exactly.
if I started digging on you too much because you weren't confident in what you were saying, I could have asked you, well, what's your business? And now you're prematurely having to talk about what's in the introduce step, which is your company.
And that's a can of worms where I don't want to get into 3 minutes before we're going to stop talking. And so everything I said was honest. And I, when Jason kind of asked me those few questions, I gave him an answer.
And
but
you
it kind of pushed you towards the website.
Well, you were dumbing it down a little bit because you were acting like the associate from 10 years ago.
Yes.
Had you been you now, you would have done things a little differently. And so the reason why we do this is like, you need to understand, like a lot of the problem we get with our downline is they often say to us, well, the reason why you guys can do this is you guys have been doing it a long time. Of course it's easier for us. But what we try to teach our team is, listen, like if you just have a response prepared and it's a part of you and you have something intelligent and confident to say, you can usually deflect those questions so that people actually look at the information and get developed properly, as opposed to forcing you into the introduce too soon. And so that's one of the things that you have to do. And that's why I was putting Chris in the spot a little bit, because that's what you're going to encounter. You need to be prepared for this. And honestly, you may get different questions from different people at different times. And that's why you just have to do this. You might crash and burn the first 20 times, or maybe half of the times in the first 20, you end up having to talk about the introduce. And it's kind of like, hey, if you talk about your company, product, or service, it doesn't mean that all is lost, but you are prematurely going in the introduce, and you will learn the type of questions that you're going to get for your situation, and then you'll be prepared. But you got to do this. You got to practice it, and you got to use it.
It's the analogy I always use. It's like riding a bike. You can't learn how to ride a bike by watching videos and reading books all day. You get on there, you put the training wheels on, you start going, you learn how to do it, and eventually, you take the training wheels off, and what always happens? You fall, you eat it, you skin your knees, you skin your elbows, but that's how you learn. You get back up, and after a few times of that, you get pretty good.
Yeah, totally.
And I mean, from a complete role-playing example, I can tell you, where I was kind of brought back some memories where I was about 10 years ago, because everything I said was true, and it's kind of what I was thinking about at the time, and that's why I used that in my endorsement script. Now, using, from my situation of still a college student, talking to a very successful lawyer and businessman, talking to someone a few steps up above the socioeconomic ladder.
Yeah.
That used to push my comfort zone like crazy. Literally, I'd want to puke sometimes and vomit. But I did that, and I got better, and I got some great people that way too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good people that are looking for something, even if they sense that you're new, they'll overlook those things if you have a response and you know what you're talking about, and you don't sound like you're like, I mean, an or an occasionally is not going to kill you. It's the deer in the headlights look that's going to kill you. So you need to know what to say. And you're going to have that for a while until you get good at this, but just practice this, and it'll be second nature to you.
And something you can do, let's say if Jason kind of kept pressing me with questions, or I didn't have a good way to answer it, one of the reasons we like to use websites or tools or resources that that aren't our company, doesn't say our company's name on there, so we can just say, no, actually this is just kind of like an informational or educational piece. It's not a business on that website.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And if he kept pressing me, well, what I would do, rather than moving to the introduce step and talking about my company, the products, and trying to draw circles and explain the compensation plan, which I've done, and I think most rookies will do, start talking about the start talking about the develop step and some of the concepts in there. What I used to do, if people would press me for questions on there, you've heard me mention in other videos, Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book is kind of what led me down this path of starting a network marketing business. If people kind of kept pressing me or I need to give more information, I would draw out the cash flow quadrant, which is a simple four areas: employee, self-employed, business, and investor. And I would use that to kind of take the focus off of me and my experience and not have to go down the company route, but rather talk about that, and it would carry the conversation forward and give good value to the person I was talking with.
Well, and whenever you're being pressed, you always need to have a few things in your pocket like that to talk about, because when people press you, they're really testing you, for one, and two, they want to get something out of you. Some people are just like, I'm not going to go look at a website if I don't know what it's about. So if you give them a little bit of information, so if you have a solid develop process, something that's building the bridge between the where they're at in their situation and in the introduce step, your company, product, or service, study that yourself and become a student of it so you can talk about it. You can give them a preview of it verbally, and then it appeases them.
Absolutely.
So then you don't have to deal with that. So, these are the things you need to do, and it's not that hard to do. It's just a little bit of work, a little bit of studying. It's a little bit of personal development, and it's a little bit of growth. That's all. It's not going to kill you.
And two other things I'll emphasize on here is, if that was actually a real life situation, I probably wouldn't have sent him a website at the end of our 8-minute conversation. I probably would have just kept talking with them, and I would probably see him at yoga again or see him somewhere. I would just build the relationship. And that's the other option if things weren't quite right, or if you're really in my shoes, we were talking with kind of like a big player, and I'm kind of fumbling around at this point. I would actually just talk with them, take mental notes, go home, jot them down, and actually call up my upline or call up my mentor and say, hey, I met this guy, we talked about this, I told this to him, he said this, and this to him. What could I say to him next time I see him, or what would be the next step?
Or you could have not launched into, hey, I've got this website. You could have just said, hey, you seem like you're pretty successful. That's what, if I were talking to somebody, if I were new in the business, I were talking to somebody successful, and I feel like I connected with them, I would say, hey, you seem like you're pretty successful. I'm pretty new, but I've got some good ideas that I think can help you out, and I'm sure I can learn some stuff from you. I'd like to get your number after class if you're not opposed to it, and let's stay in touch, like share ideas as we come across. Most people are going to be like, yeah, sure. Any smart business person, it doesn't matter how successful he or she is, is going to want to build a relationship with somebody new. It's just good business. So don't forget that.
Absolutely. And that's actually what I normally do in real life situations. I think you probably do the same thing as well. It's building that relationship.
But you had to play the rookie.
Well, I had to play the rookie, and I wanted to kind of fumble around on the getting you to the develop step. And hey, I still got you there. And as long as you go out there and talk with people, take action, and whether he looks at the website or doesn't look at the website, I still have made a new connection with someone at the yoga studio, and we're going to bump into each other again down the road.
Yeah, totally.
So, and the other thing I want to emphasize is, what was my second point? Was it really helps. You heard me reference. No, the website's not mine. It's actually someone I work with, and I'm as a rookie. I was referring to my successful upline or to a successful person in my company. And having someone like that is really, really critical when you're new into the business and learning the ropes. That way, as they ask questions or want to go beyond the develop to the introduce step, I can connect them with my upline or with my mentor or someone else in the business who could talk at his level and knows how to do a quick fire and talk about things. So make sure you have some of those people, if you can, kind of in the back of your mind, know their story, know how to introduce them and set up three-way calls or three-way presentations and such.
Yeah, good point.
So to start wrapping up this video, you may want to rewatch this to get some of those good pointers out of there. But if you've watched the video that Jason and I did on how to sell your product or service through the personal endorsement, we're going to kind of end on the same thing. You have to go out there and write out some basic tenets of your personal endorsement, practice it, get good at it, but bottom line, go out there and start using it. And if this is your first time talking with people, to take the pressure off yourself, just say, hey, you know what, I'm not even going to send people any websites, even start develop stuff. I would say go out there and talk to 10 or 20 or 30 people and just have the conversation, make the connection. And then if you can, swap emails, become friends on Facebook, get their phone number or whatever. And then go, once you're back home, jot down some notes about the person you talk with, enter it into your contact management system, keep track of them, and then go to a training call, meet with your upline and get feedback. Say, hey, I met this person, here's his background, here's her background, here's what we talked about. Could I have said anything better? Could I have answered this question better? He asked me this, I wasn't sure what to say. And what type of information could I send them to?
Yeah, because that's how you get better.
That's what I did when I was a rookie and kind of fumbling around like that. I literally, this was before iPhones and iPads and stuff, I carried around a little, 3 by 6 inch pocket journal, either in my backpack or my cargo pants, and I would literally always write down questions or ideas. And actually, Jason here was actually the main person, my upline, who trained me and coached me and mentored me. So it's kind of funny doing role playing with him. But how many times a day and how many times a week would I call you and ask you questions?
Sometimes, you called me every day, and sometimes 4 or 5 times a day.
Now, was I bugging you or annoying you?
No. But you were doing things like if you were calling me to bitch, whine, or moan or be a victim, I wouldn't put up with it. But you were like, hey, I asked this, I got this, how do I do it better? Hey, I love downline that want to learn and get better. That's, and your upline should receive you the same way. If you're growing and you want to do things, that's what you need to do. So I agree with Chris. You need to take these notes, try things, write them down, figure out what happened, and then run it by your upline and get that feedback.
Great. Well, I got nothing else to add. Do you?
No, this is good.